Nafasi yake kwenye bunge imechangia pakubwa kwenye harakati zake za kuleta na kupigania mabadiliko katika jamii.
We have a Married Women Properties Act that was enacted when I'm in Parliament. And so we have changed the framework of laws that are more progressive. We have outlawed FGM, we have a new Marriage Act, we have a new law, as I've told you, on property, we have new land laws, we have very progressive laws on economic frameworks relating to women that we didn't hitherto have. So for me, if I look back, I can say yes, on the legislative front, we are doing very well. Say the way I speak in Parliament, there are several other men who speak like that. But I will be told, Millie, behave.
Can you behave like a woman?
Behave like a woman.
Yeah.
Women don't behave like that. But men, when they behave like that, it's encouraged. You are told you are being assertive. If I behave exactly the same way, I'm told I'm being aggressive, which is negative. If I speak kind of a little bit forcefully, I am actually told I am shouting. For a man, he's just being expressive. And so you can't rise, because when you want to rise, you are seen to be doing the wrong thing, when the men do exactly the same thing.
Amejulikana kama mpiganiaji haki za wanawake, watoto, vijana na wasiojiweza katika jamii.
I want to warn the men who are targeting national leaders with sex shaming, like the one we have seen of late. If we cannot protect women at the local level, and we are trying to, and us as women leaders, we are being targeted. And we want to be quiet because of 1, 2, 3 reasons. And please excuse me as women, because I know we had agreed that we will not talk about this. But blanket or no blanket, I will talk, because I'm very offended. We cannot be treating women like trash. We cannot be treating women like rubbish. We cannot be treating women like they are the ones who came up with sex, like they are the ones who invented sex. And I want to tell women who are shaming and victimizing another woman who is already a victim, and you are trying to victimize and taking a moral high ground. Shame on you. Shame on you. I have seen one of my friends going and saying, because you have children, don't do this. Who told you that a woman posted photos of herself? You come here, post photos. Who hasn't had sex? Even I have had sex.
Amejulikana kwa utetezi wake wa haki za wanawake, haki ya kijamii na masuala mbalimbali ya kimaendeleo.
As a former user of sanitary towels, and as Dynasty as a former user of diapers, and as a future user of diapers. Because as a woman, once you get menopausal, you will have leaks and you will use diapers. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say, it's not all women, so Rosa should not be worried, but there are women who get leaks. And I want to say that there are people, because we don't want to have shame over menopausal issues, we don't want shame over period. And Mr. Speaker, I am saying this because I've been sitting here today listening patiently to the men talking about sanitary towels that is in the finance bill. And they are speaking with authority. If we wanted to save money, the way the finance committee has done, and want to tax anything else, go and tax men innerwears. Go and tax men innerwears. Don't speak on our issues as women. Let us be the one to speak about sanitary towels. We are the ones who know what works for us, and you are saying we want to encourage the local manufacturing. While you are waiting to enable our local manufacturing agencies to create those sanitary towels, will we tell our periods to stop? And I want to tell the president, who I served with in the same committee in Parliament, who was my classmate in the university, fire those guys that you have hired who are giving you economic advice. They are not helping you at all. How do you even imagine bringing something like taxing bread, even if it is as a joke? That is a joke carried too far. That is a joke carried too far. You can crack those jokes elsewhere. You can find a situation where the young people have burnt the country based on your joke. Try those jokes elsewhere.
Millie ni mojawapo wa wanawake wenye misimamo mikali na hakosi kuchangia katika mijadala bungeni, hasa yenye utata.
Because Kenyans are suffering. Kenyans are tired of being taxed. And if we cannot listen to the Kenyans who are tired of being taxed, we have no business being in this house. We must listen to the Kenyans. When somebody undresses me in this house, that is sexual violence, Mr. Speaker. You don't touch my panty. You are not Mr. Mabona. That is sexual violence. What I am saying is, Mr. Speaker, I do not support the finance bill. And I'll give you the reasons why I don't support it. One, I don't support it because it's devoid of a strong policy underpinning. Number two, I don't support it because it's not premised on a better model, but on a beta model. The KK government told us that their things are premised on BETA, but increasingly we are seeing it premised on BITTER, beta model. That's why I'll not support it. And Mr. Speaker, the other reason I will not support it, it's because it encourages opulence. Look at how much money I have. Look at the price of my watch. I have a 5 million watch, and I'll explain why, Mr. Speaker. So do not be in a hurry to ask me to explain. I'm going to explain.
Kila wakati ashikapo kipaza sauti, huwaacha wengi na tabasamu usoni kwa jinsi anavyotoa hoja zake kwa kutumia lugha ya utani.
A young man instead is writing to me that I am young but I have inches, Madam Speaker. So it is actually the reverse. It's the young men who are now very keen on looking for retirees like me. I don't mean I've retired in my work, but I've retired in that other sector. Telling me about inches. What do I do with inches, Madam Speaker? I think would be very good is to avoid men. The men is, yeah, Madam Speaker, the men is coded for mouth, eyes, and nose. So if you avoid men, you are avoiding mouth, eyes, and nose. Madam Speaker, somebody jokingly has also said avoid overcrowded places like your boyfriend's hats. But Madam Speaker,
you said you avoid
men.
We avoid men.
Yes, which is mouth, eyes, and nose.
Mouth, okay.
Mouth, eyes, and nose. Avoid men. And overcrowded places like your boyfriend's hat. I have a problem with the proposed amendment to the Traffic Act, Section 1179 of the Traffic Act, which provides that if any unauthorized person removes a notice affixed on a vehicle or tears or defaces the notice, they are guilty of an offense and liable upon conviction to a fine not exceeding 200 shillings. I would want, with your permission, to say it in Kiswahili, shilingi 200. And with your permission, I can say it in Kijaluo, Seling Meareo.
Order, Millie.
I sought your permission, Mr. Speaker.
I never gave you any permission to go
I do apologize then.
Proceed, Millie.
And Mr. Speaker, the reason why I'm saying that is that this amendment seeks to move that fine from 200 Kenya shillings to 200,000 Kenya shillings. I want to replace it with the words that is not entirely truthful.
Just withdraw it. It cannot be used in reference to any member.
No, I've just said it's not entirely truthful. That's very close.
I want the word, and I've directed Honorable Millie, that the word delusional as applied in reference to a member of the House be withdrawn by you.
Chair,
just withdraw it. It does not hurt. Just withdraw it.
Chair, it hurts, but I will withdraw. It hurts thoroughly. Because I believe it is. But I withdraw. It hurts.
Thank you for withdrawing.
Na kwa wakati mwingine kuvalia sura ya simba ili kukabiliana na baadhi ya wabunge hasa wa jinsia tofauti.
Which answer are you going to find for removing a notice off a car? 500,000 Kenya shillings. Are you living in utopia?
Leader,
are you living in Mars? Are you crazy? Are you mad? Are you mental? Do you need a mental checkup? You are taking Kenyans crazy.
Order.
You should know that as an esteemed lawyer, when I speak, I know the rules of the House. So I have made a connection between this law and that tax rule. It is actually completely and utterly allowed under our procedures. I made a connection. And I made a connection that says that their policy must be linked with the law that they pass. Your policy cannot be divorced from the law. The law must follow the policy. So I want to tell Honorable Mani Chungwa that indeed he knew. He actually prophesied that I was going to say something about him. That's why he preempted. And I will repeat, are you mental? Are you out of your mind? Think about Kenyans that you are harassing. Which Kenyan is going to pay 500,000 Kenya shillings for removing a small piece of paper off a car? You are very unserious.
Order, Millie. Order, Millie. Honestly, you are doing very well, but the language, you don't need to use unpalatable language in the House. And therefore, well, that's Spain, but the language is not proper.
Mmoja wa wabunge ambao hujipata mashakani kila mara mswada tata uwapo bungeni ni mbunge wa eneo bunge la Kikuyu, Kimani Ichung'wah.
My good friend Honorable Ichung'wah called Honorable Raila an urban terrorist. Mr. Speaker, if it weren't for your order, I could also have called Honorable Ruto national terrorist. But because of your order, I'm not calling him a national terrorist, Mr. Speaker. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that my good friend Honorable Ichung'wah must tell us whether he's also of the LGBTQ community because of his preoccupation with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. That guy is a man, bwana. Don't be too preoccupied with Honorable Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. I am a woman, bwana. Hey, ni kitu gani wewe?
Honorable Millie Odhiambo. Honorable Millie Odhiambo. Order.
Mara si moja amejipata mashakani na hata kufurusha kwenye bunge. Ni miongoni mwa wabunge watiifu mno wa chama cha ODM kinachoongozwa na kinara wao Raila Odinga.
Don't joke with that man. Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga has done well for this country. Even yourself, Owen Baya, you got your position vis-a-vis Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. And that is why sometimes you still wear blue. Because in your heart, you know you are very Azimio. It is just that because you know that this side is eating so much, you are also hoping that you can go and eat. But otherwise, you know very well that Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, there is nobody as fairer than Raila Amolo Odinga. And I can tell you,
Millie Odhiambo alifunga pingu za maisha na Bwana Magugu Mabona kutoka Zimbabwe mwaka 2006. Ingawa hajajaliwa kujifungua mtoto, jambo ambalo halimkwazi kulingana naye.
Because I do not have a child myself naturally, and should I choose, I've given myself up to the deadline of December to decide whether or not I want to go through assisted reproduction. If December comes and I've not decided, I'll let it pass Jeff. Fortunately for me, God made me in a very wonderful way. I feel complete with or without a child. I've raised many children and have never at one point ever considered myself any less because I don't have a child. But because I have seen the tears of women, I've never, Jeff, in my life cried that I don't have a child. Right. But I was shocked that actually women cry that they don't have children.
They do.
Yes,
they do. Yes.
I was shocked. I have met women, one of them I'm glad, managed to come into parliament, who struggled over years and has got a child through assisted reproduction. She introduced me to a group a network of women who don't have children, some who have been divorced, some who have gone, even women in the media who have, got in touch with me, who have been divorced because they don't have children.
Right.
So for the sake of those women, I have brought, and I don't want to say for myself because I may not be considering, I have brought assisted reproduction technologies bill that would help those women. So yes, and it has surrogacy in it.
Is that
and
right?
I've also brought a reproductive health care bill that also talks about some of those issues. Yeah. I know that whenever we talk about reproductive health care, people always think of abortion. It's not about abortion. Yeah. Jeff, if I told you my story about reproductive health care, you would be astounded. So some of it is also very personal to me.
Amelea watoto wengi kutokana na mapenzi yao kwao.
I've never felt a special need to have my own. I am able to love one kid, any kid. I'm able to laugh without feeling like I'm missing something. I only felt at some point after I lost my mom, I felt such level of emptiness I've never felt in my life.
Right.
And I went to see the doctor, and then he told me perhaps then maybe you need to think about having a kid. Yeah, but then after a while, I'm not saying I still grieve for my mom. She was such a wonderful person, but that feeling went. I don't feel that I must have my own kid in order to
feel complete.
To feel complete.
Utasa wake umetokana na matatizo aliyopitia akiwa kijana, kutokana na simulizi zake. Nyingi ya matatizo hayo yakiwa ni changamoto za kupata hedhi zilizomlazimu kwenda hospitalini kila mwezi alipokuwa mwezini.
That when I was younger and I'd have my menses, I was always admitted in hospital every single month.
Because of what? Blood loss or migraines or?
I would have severe cramps.
Yeah.
I would have blood loss. So it was always a very serious, terrible journey for me. So I know. I went into a meeting once and I walk in, and fortunately I was the first one in the meeting. Before I know it, I was in a pool of blood. Oh. But fortunately, there was a guy in the room who was chairing this meeting, and I didn't know how to deal, so I said, excuse me, can you please, because we're meeting in his office, I said, can you please leave your office? Then he looked at me and he said, it's okay, I'm a gynecologist.
Oh.
By coincidence.
Tell me something.
I went to hospital upon hospital. In Kenya, I went to Aga Khan, I went to different hospitals, and all I was told is there's a mass. They couldn't tell me what it was. And when I went to school in New York, then I was told, you have fibroids. Now, I don't know whether maybe technology at that point wasn't good enough.
Yes,
and
yes.
Guess what, Jeff? Every time I went to hospital, I was told I've aborted. Every month, I was told I'm aborted.
Good Lord.
Yes, I was told I've aborted. And I was in hospital every month. Oh. Because a woman, every time you present yourself to hospital, and then one time when I was actually in, I already started working, and because I used to have this problem, so I went to hospital and I was given documentation because I missed the office. So I had to take it back to the office. Yeah. And I was walking around with this documentation from office to office. Why? Because I've had this problem all my life. What did the doctor write? That I have a sexually transmitted infection, and I was not even sexually active.
No.
So I'm showing people around that I have a sexually transmitted infection. So somebody called me and said, excuse me, do you know what this means? I said, no. What is it? Said, it shows that you are found with a sexually transmitted infection.
How old were you?
Early 20s. I went back to the hospital, and I told the doctor, why did you find me with this? And he said, did you present with this? I said, no, I didn't. He said, most women do. I'm not most women have come as me.
Yeah.
So the challenge is that for reproduction as women, when you present yourself, it's always presumed that you have a sexually transmitted infection or that you have aborted. It's not about that. Reproductive health care is not about abortions or that you have done what. It's a whole spectrum. From when you, and I thank God, I always tell people that the things that people think are negative about me, I thank God for. Because God enabled me to go through them so that I can be the voice of those who go through.
Yeah.
Millie Odhiambo Mabona ni mpenda muziki na anapenda kucheza kama mojawapo ya njia za kujiliwaza.
So dancing is a big part of my life. In fact, I remember when I was young, my grandmother she had a nickname for me. and she'd call me Omiele, Omiele. Omiele is the one who dances, the one who dances. So I've always danced my entire life. Yeah.
Millie Odhiambo Mabona, ambaye sasa yupo bungeni kwa muhula wa 4, anasalia kuwa kiongozi mwenye ushawishi mkubwa katika siasa za Kenya.
Watafute, waende, let them go to heaven, earth, sea, water. I don't care. But I am not a person that is moved. That they should have known kitambo, not now. They think I was nominated. Why? Because I'm a flower girl.
Kazi yake inaendelea kuhamasisha wengi katika kupigania usawa wa uwakilishi katika utawala.
I see Shakira, I'm like, yeah, I'm seeing Millie there. When I'm seeing these young feisty girls, the one who was telling Baba, step aside, I'm like, yeah, Millie Odhiambos are here. I'm good. I'm happy. Even if I were to retire, I'd be happy. Okay. I'm not saying I'm retiring, but even if I were, I'd be happy because I can see a lot of young people with potential. What I just want to encourage them is to learn to merge idealism with life, realism. It's a difficult one, and the first test they had was coming out in numbers, trying to transform the platform in the country, and then being taken back. They should not give up. Yeah.
Kama mbunge, Millie amekuwa mtetezi wa haki za wanawake, elimu na masuala ya afya.
We have a lot of young people who are now gone into crime, people with the degrees and masters, and they are no jobs. So they've gone into crime. We have a lot of young people who have gotten into drug addiction because there are no jobs. And that is why I'm saying that the government must put its act together. We must find a way of realistically having job creation. And I know that the simpler way is to say let's tax people and create jobs. No, I think there are too many avenues for corruption. There's too much hemorrhage of resources from unscrupulous people. And for me, I think what we need to do is political, have political goodwill right at the presidency, right at the top.
Okay. Amefanya kazi katika mipango mbalimbali ya kisheria inayolenga kuboresha maisha ya jamii zilizotengwa. Utetezi wake unahusu masuala kama vile unyanyasaji wa kijinsia, haki za afya ya uzazi na usawa wa kijamii. Kwa sasa Millie Odhiambo ni kiongozi wa walio wachache katika bunge la kitaifa, nafasi iliyoachwa wazi na Opiyo Wandayi na John Mbadi. Baada ya kuteuliwa kama mawaziri kwenye serikali ya muungano iliyotengenezwa na Rais William Ruto na upinzani kutokana na maandamano ya vijana nchini yaliyohimiza uwajibikaji wa viongozi katika kutekeleza wajibu wao kwa wananchi.
The Honorable Junet Mohamed CBS MP as the leader of the minority party in the National Assembly, and 2, the Honorable Millie Odhiambo MP as the minority whip in the National Assembly. Honorable members, the minority party whip has also attached the minutes of the proceedings of the meeting, thereby complying with the provisions of the standing orders and the precedents set by the House in such matters.
Na huo ndio mwisho wa makala haya ya The Bad Girl Documentary. Mwandishi na msimulizi wa makala haya ni mimi Jacob Okello.